Hello everybody, welcome back to part 2 of my epic G6-01 custom conversion to rear wheel drive. I must say thank you very much to all the people that viewed part 1 of my feature length episode. I'm hoping that part 2 will be a lot less than part 1. So the second part is doing the suspension. As you can see, there's the chassis from part 1, and in part 2 I'm going to be doing the A-arms, the rear suspension. Now it says in the book, let's go to the back. So we're going to do the rear suspension first of all because it's easier and straightforward, and I need to build up the rear suspension exactly as it says in the manual. Now it says you have to get parts C15 and C14 and join them together. Well, I've already got ahead of myself and I've pre-built those parts to make it easier for this build. So that's the parts there, C15, C14, and it says to make 2 sets. You make 2 sets, which are like that, and what you're going to do is you're just going to rotate one to the other side. That's where the rear shock would go, from the A-arm up to the body. And I've also got in front of myself, and I've also built up the hubs, the rear hub. Got a couple of rubber steel bearings, one inside, one outside. I put the wheel axle through and I put an R-clip on it so it doesn't fall out. And I've done both of those, one for the left, one for the right. Okay, now we're going to attach them onto the chassis. And get the chassis. Now, I've already gone to the liberty of taking the rear top arms and putting those on, and as you can see, they're not screwed up mega tight. They're on so they still move. That was a little bit stiff. But what I've done is I put a bolt on, a 16mm bolt, put a washer on, then I put a washer just inside, and then I put the arm on. So to make it easier for myself, not that way, try that way. Now, as this is going to be a Allen key bolt build, because when I bought the parts, I just bought the parts, I didn't buy any hardware for it. So I got myself a 50mm bolt. It will go through all the way through to the other side, and I need to put on just a little washer, and then I've got an M3 lock nut, a nylock nut. You can see there, it's got like the little nylon bit inside, and we'll put those on, and then we'll do it up with one of Alan's keys that he lent me. So there comes the fun tricky part. So we'll just give that a nip up. Well, not a nip up, we'll just do it up. So I'm hoping that this part of the build will go a lot quicker. See, it still moves, and then do it up. Don't over tighten it, because obviously you still need it to move. Still needs to move freely, and the nylon inside the nut goes on the end of the bolt. So I'll just try and do that up another nick. Excellent. And I'll just quickly swip onto the other side. Again, put the bolt on, put the arm on, 50mm bolt to go through. And it comes out the other side. And all I need to do is put on a washer, 3mm washer, and another one of those fantastic nylock nuts. Oh, I'll just drop it everywhere. I'm going to do that up. And make a complete hash of it. How you do. There you go, so you see it's starting to lock. maybe a tad more, maybe. I could have bought all of the nuts and bolts for this, but I didn't want to spend out loads of money when I had plenty of hardware that I could use. Okay, next up, I'm going to introduce some anti-wear grease. And this is for the drive, these gearbox joints. I'm just going to, probably a bit too much, but that's alright. Sometimes more is better than less. And we put that in. That goes in one side. As you can see, I've already put the O-ring in to make it easier for myself. Next up is the other side. Oh, what? You know what, just might be easy just to swish that on with my finger. That's better. Okay, and we put that through the rear of that side. He says. There we go. And we've got the two halves in. Excellent. 1 second, let me get a bit of tissue. This is super sticky stuff, and it's really good. I would have used it in the gearbox when I made up the differential, but I didn't have enough. As you can see, that's not quite enough to go in all the diff and round all the cogs in the gearbox as well. Now, come back to that. Okay. Then we're going to go, we've done the arms, done those. Right, now we're going to put dog bones in. Going to put the bottom part in. And I'm going to offer up. Oh, easier said than done. Now let's put the dog bone in. Or the drive cup, drive shaft. Cool. Now we're getting there. Okay, we're going to use a 40mm bolt to go through there. Oh no. Again, easier said than done. Oh, come on. There we go. Yeah, little one to the top, little one to the bottom. There we go. Put the bolt all the way through, and then watch it fall out. Now might be a good time to actually bolt that together. So we're going to use a 16mm bolt. And put the 16mm bolt through. Then put a washer on the bolt. Come on. Then screw that into there. It says. Hopefully. It's catching. Ooh, it's catching. I'll lift that up. Okay. nice and stiff, nice and difficult to do. I could have used the step screws, but I didn't have any because I didn't buy any. I'll just undo that tad. Oh, there's my spanner. Always something you forget or lose. Oh, it is on that side. Okay, I'm just going to undo this nut a little bit. Just a dash. So you can see that the drive cup is in. We'll turn that round. You can see that is rotating. Excellent. Rotating. And just repeat the process for the other side. Might help if I put the nut on the other side of the bolt. So 2 washers. And then the nut. Try and get that in view for you. So the rear needs to be set up as standard as in the book. Don't over tighten it, obviously, because it still needs to move freely. Okay, then we do this side. So we put the dog bone in. I'll be able to put dog bone in this side actually. Maybe not. And we put the bolt through. And again we then put the bolt through there. Oh, need about 7 pairs of hands now. Balance. And then we do the bolt up, he says, with it not quite going. Yep, that's good enough. Just turn that round and just whip that up. Not a lot of commentary on this one today. But do it up so it's not going to come undone. Doesn't need to be mega tight, just needs to be done up. Still move. Then all I need to do then is to get these 2 washers on onto the back there, and then the little nut on the front part. You see, I'm going to work back to front because I'm not left-handed. Oh, should have tried that before. There we go. Excellent. Now at this point I'm also going to put on the shock absorbers. So it would say in the book here, move that, say in the book here how to make up your friction shocks. Well, I'm not going to be using friction shocks because I've got oil filled shocks, and here it tells you to do the front dampers, the middle dampers, and then the rear dampers. Well, I'm just going to be doing the rear dampers first of all. Getting 2 shocks, couple of 10mm bolts, 1, 2, and oh, my hand key. I don't suppose it really matters what way they go on, but they will have one at the top for the eyelet. I'll put them around this way. Well, it's not very long at all, is it really? 10mm. Hold on. Just see if I can would a couple of 16s be better? Let's have a look. Right. Bear with me. I'm going to put a couple of washers either side as well. Put a washer on, and we get the bolts, and then another washer, and then we go through to the top there. Oh, losing my bearings now again. Yep, it's going in. Yeah, I think if you use a 10mm bolt, you've only got about 4mm of thread to hold it in place. So I'm just going to use a 16mm bolt and do it up like so. And then the bottom shock goes onto that bit there. Now I'm going to use 10mm bolts for the bottom ones. But without the washers. Excellent. So as we can see, the shocks work. I'll just move over to the other side. Put the washer on. Find the shock absorber that rolled away. the washer on. You put that in that part like so. And then wind it up. And we've got a bit of thread on it. Ah, that's better. It's actually working. And then a 10mm, go through the bottom. And that goes into that bit like so. Ah, you donkey. Aha! With a bit of luck, we might have an eventful bit of fun. Well, in that, we won't. I'll just turn that over. Ah, look at that. Miles better. Do that up. Right, so now you can see that the rear shocks are on, and that's how they're supposed to sit, on the outside at the back. Now let me turn your attentions to the front part. Now I have already pre-built these front sections up, as you can see. Made the A-arm, put the front hub in, and they go this way. So all I'm going to do is I'll take out this 50mm bolt for the bottom that goes onto the front of the chassis. That bolt came off. Washer. Now I've built one of these up as standard according to the book, and the other one I've elongated for the front. So this is the side that would go onto the right hand side of the chassis. I'm going to put the bolt all the way through, and I'm going to show you what it's like in standard form. And what I'm going to do is I'm not actually going to bolt this part on. So this arm goes behind the chassis, and I'm just going to put an Allen key through there just to hold it in place, just to show you what it goes like. So that is standard. See, it's got the hole at the front for the shock absorber to go into. Now the other one that I've pre-built as well is the extended version. Why? Because I need to move the wheelbase forward because of the body shell that I'm using. Let me take this nut out and I'll show you what I've done to make it longer. This is super easy. You could do this on a Wild Willie 2 Jeep if you wanted, or you could do it on a GF-01, or actually you could do it on any chassis at all. Now let me just bolt this in place and I'll show you the length, the difference in the length. So still put the bolt through as if you was building it up as standard like the book. And where's the hole? Right, now I'm going to take the camera and I'll show you the difference. So on this one you've got the arm at the back of the chassis and the suspension hole is at the front, whereas on this one you've got the hole, the arm sits at the front of the chassis and the suspension bolt goes into the rear. Move that out. Goes into the rear, which is down there, which means I have just lengthened the front to give you a top view. You can see that they don't line up. This is the standard view from the book, and this is the one that's just moved to the front. I'll say there's a good sort of 10mm difference there between the two. And the way to lengthen, extend your wheelbase is this lower arm. You just need to turn it over and flip it the other way. So if you was building it up as standard, your shock would go, the lower shock would go in the bottom, and your top shock will go up there into the front of the chassis. But because I've elongated the wheelbase, my shock absorber now has to go in at the bottom there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to relocate the top of the shock mount up to this part of the chassis. In the manual it tells you later on that you're supposed to put in grub screws into these holes here and here. There's 3 of them on this side, 1, 2, 3, and then you've got 3 on this side as well. You've got 1, 2 and 3. So all you need to do is just swap the A arms, just turn them over. That's all you need to do. Just turn them over. Instead of having the arm behind the chassis, you have the arm in front of the chassis, and that's how you make the wheelbase longer. So I need to use a 16mm bolt for the front. We'll get 2 of them out. Put that 10 in now. A couple of washers. Put a couple of washers here. Some washers, not a couple. I'm going to take a 16mm bolt. Put a washer on the bolt, whatever way you like. Get another washer. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to screw this bolt into here from the back, because if you go through here, this bit will bind, the bolt will bind on the plastic, and it won't catch on the chassis. So you'll have to bolt it in from the rear. So again, move the arm up, and poke the bolt through, put the washer on, and this is where it gets a little bit fiddly, because there's not a lot of room for you to get the Allen key in, because you've got the side of the cog, the bit that sticks out for the gearbox. And then this is the fun part you have of trying to screw it all in together to get it to work, get it to look like it's supposed to be in there. Stay. Right, where's the Allen key? Oh, it is. Now comes the fun part. Come on, Alan. You can do it. Come on. Even if you had a nut driver or an Allen key driver, you still wouldn't be able to get it in there, because it's just not enough room. And this is what's going to take the time, screwing them in a little bit at a time, half a turn maybe, if that, if you're lucky. and you have to keep it all aligned up. This is more of a faff trying to get this bolt in than it is to build anything else up. Half a turn at a time. But that's basically it. Just to elongate the wheelbase. So you build the back up as standard, and then when you want to put the front on and make it longer, all you need to do is just flip the A-arm round at the bottom. I wonder if I've got a longer Allen key. Try this one. Oh, mate, look at that. I should have used that before. Yeah, with all these gubbins on the side, you wouldn't have been able to get a driver in there to do it. You have to get a long Allen key like I've got here to do. When I see Alan, I'll give him that little key back. No, a little bit at a time. No, just a little bit too much. It just needs to be undone a tad. That's cool. And then all we need to do is just get that washer on. And then get the nut on. Sweet. And get that in. And then we get this one on the front. And just do that up. Yeah, the trouble with not being ambidextrous is that you can't do anything. You're only limited to doing it working one way with one hand. Oh, you talk it again, are you? So, just to reiterate, this is the extended one, and this is the short one. Obviously, by relocating the shock absorber, I'm going to put the front shocks on. I'll show you what I mean. A couple of 10 mils. Nope, not that one. It's a 20 mil. So you put the bottom eyelet in the hole, so exactly the same as the rear, where the shock absorber would have gone on the outside, it's now just on the inside. And all you need to do then is turn the shock round and bolt the shock to this part up here. See, if you was building up a WRO2, you would get those bars that go on the side. Then if you're still going to use those bars, all you're going to do is just cut a little slot out of the front that you would have bolted that to. That way your shock still goes up and down, but by putting the shock absorber on the back there, I'll lift that up for you, your turning circle is reduced because the shock's in the way. But that doesn't really matter, because if you're just building a custom car for show that actually does work and go round, you're not going to worry about that bit. Okay, now let me show you. I'm going to introduce the body shell to you now, so I can show you why I need to extend the wheelbase. I'll find the shell. I might have to pan out a bit. One second, people, let me just adjust the camera. Okay, so this is the body shell that I'm going to use. You can't even see that. Let me put it there like that, for example. So this is the Ford Capri Zack Speed body shell that I'm going to use. Absolutely fantastic. 1/8 scale. Now, in order to make sure that the wheels line up, I'll move it to the back. So the centre of the wheel is in line with the centre of the wheel arch. Just see faintly there. There's the wheel arch. So the centre of the axle is lined up with the centre of the wheel arch on the shell. When you move along to the front, because this is at an angle, this part of the axle setup is actually set back further to the back, which is why I need to elongate the wheel setup. And this is on the, well, in Britain this would be on the right hand side, the drive side. So by lining up the rear axle lining up the rear axle with the centre of the wheel arch, there's a dot there on the shell, you line that up perfect. But on the back, on the front, the centre of the wheel arch, the centre of the hub actually lines up with around about here. So of course I've needed to move it forward. So if I show you the other side, why I've elongated it, turn that round. This is with the extra long side on. I'll do exactly the same. Line up the back. I need to move that forward. So line up the rear. Line up the rear hub with the centre of the rear of the shell, and then move along to the front. And then where the front is, you can't really win. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out most of this arch to allow for the wheel to go on for the front and the rear. And my choice of wheels are going to be these DT-01 Madball wheels. I've bought 2 sets of the DT-01 wheels, and I'm going to use both of the rear wheels with the 12mm hex that go on. So you'll have a wheel there at the back, and you'll have a wheel there for the front. And then by the time I cut all the arch out and everything, they should look like they're supposed to be on there. I think these tyres, wheels and tyres, will be actually the right size for the shell. By the time I cut it all out and adjust everything, get it all to fit on there, they'll look like they're supposed to be on there. Okay, so that's part 2 of my axle setup. And this is my iconic body shell that I'm going to use. Ford Capri Zack Speed with the big arches. Obviously I need to cut all the shell out, but that's basically it. fantastic. I'm going to have black windows, I'm going to have a black bumper, black side windows, black windows for the windscreen, and then next time you see this shell, it should be sitting on that chassis. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and that is going to be part 2 of my epic G6-01 rear wheel drive conversion. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all soon in part 3. Bye for now.